Good morning and good morning. I know I'm 2 minutes late. I tell you, I was trying to get my necklace on, and for some reason it didn't want to go on easily this morning, but it's on. It's on. Good morning, and good morning. Hoping you had a wonderful weekend. Today is a little cloudy outside, but I put on yellow so it would be a little sunny in here with me. So happy that it's another opportunity to speak to you all. Today it's on Mother again, and it's all going to be related to our mothers. Um, until we get through Friday of this week. I just loved my mother, adored her, and because she was funny and would cuss, I knew cussing long before it was, that I wasn't supposed to say it. I just knew, I just sounded like I shouldn't be saying it. But anyway, so happy that I had such a cool mother. Um, Over the weekend, I got a chance to do the Burger Battle by the Bay with my Rotary Club, which is Pensacola Suburban West Rotary. And we did it along with Cordova Rotary. And we had the people. Thank you, the community. I thank you. I thank you. A lot of people came. There was food everywhere, every kind of hamburger you could think of. It was all around that Maritime Park downtown, and everyone enjoyed themselves. They were going out very full, feeling very good, and saying that they can't wait until next year. So we heard those words. We're really happy about that. The winner was True Grit. True Grit Bistro, which is out there on Pine Forest Road. They had a dynamite hamburger. I did like it. And then some of the other winners were, I think it's 1208 Cooking Team, one for the amateur division. And I think they were People's Choice. And then, of course, the People's Choice was also True Grit for the professional side. So it was just a good opportunity, just a good day. And also Better Homes won. Better Homes and Garden won. So a first place winner. So anyway, we're just happy that people are coming and they're really getting into it. That was actually our fourth time doing Burger Battle by the Bay. So pretty exciting. We're just going to keep doing it. We're just going to keep doing it and keep doing it. In fact, there may be a fifth, but I believe that we had to stop one time due to the pandemic, that we didn't give it. But we're back in business, and thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But anyway, I want to talk a little about the word form. And I just always remember never knowing the word form and how I would apply it later on in life. But as I've gotten older, I understand what form is. And I like the word. And, it says, and I'm going to read you this, it says, form is the visible shape or configuration of something. But I also see it as being somebody's, like myself, my mother, your mother. We know what form our mother took. If we were able to say that was, the person that raised us, but others could have raised us. It could have been an auntie. It could have been, a neighbor up the street, and a community. There's a community of mothers that have always looked out for anyone that was in, her area. She's going to take care of them. Could have been a church mother. Good morning, Marion. How are you? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, love. Birthday lady. Yes, 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 it's coming. The day before Mother's Day is my birthday. So I'm looking forward to it this year. Hopefully, I'm not interested in really doing that much, but I'm excited that I'm going to see another one if the Lord says so. Good morning, Rhonda. I never say her name. Y'all know that, right? Because, most of the time I be messing it up. Bahia Nashadi. Bahia Nashadi. See there? Come on now. But anyway, she know I love her. I call her Rhonda. But anyway, good morning, Rhonda. It says, I found a poem, and it's a poem for mothers. So if you're a mother, listen to this poem. It says, when the feeling of being lost and confused takes over, when the sad times seem to never hurry away, when the doubt overwhelms the thought of the day, the cure for all of the negative emotions is you, mom. The shoulders that are consistently there, the ears that will always listen, the smile that can chase any frown away. Words are not enough for the gratitude I hold deep inside. That's a prayer for moms. And we know for a fact when we bruise our knee, I remember one time I was running. My mother told me, do not run because the sidewalk is not even. You're going to fall. And I saw something up the street that I wanted to run to. I ran, fell down, and I ended up with a big wound on my leg. So my mother, they patched all that up. How about a week later? Clumsy Sandy, Clumsy Winnie ended up running again. I used to love to run. Don't ask me to run nowhere now. I am not going. So anyway, I was running again and I ended up hurting my arm. I still have that place on my arm today from where, and I remember the form my mother took was, didn't I tell you not to run? She said, had you paid attention to me, you wouldn't have all these bruises on your body. So sometimes the form they take may be one of protection, that may be one of frustration, one of, I told you so, one of love, certainly, one of, just absolute, care. And you know who took care of the wound? My mom. My mom. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today. Just a little bit about the form. So I'm going to read you this again after I ask you, are you stuck? Are you stuck on being a mother or not realizing how impactful you were as a mother? Or do you know mothers that you need to do something more for? And if they're going on to glory, write them a note. You don't have to send it, have nowhere to send it to, but sometimes getting it out just helps you feel better. I want you to feel good about, even if were not raised by a certain one that gave you birth, does not matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. What matters is that you know who cared enough about you, loved you enough, showed you enough that you can write a note that just says, thank you. Just thank you. So form, it's the visible shape or configuration of something. It says it's the formation, it's the conformation, it's the structure. Think about these women you know as mothers. Think about them. Think about the form that they stand in. Sometimes it's hard to imagine that there's such, completeness, such greatness that stands before you. That doesn't have to be, famous. That doesn't have to be anything but who they are. Anyone but who they are. That makes it really wonderful. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Kiwanis. How you doing? Good, and welcome into the space this morning. We're glad to have you. And the form is also one's appearance. You didn't think that, did you? It says it may be one's outwardness that we see. That's a form. Okay. They may be flashy. They may be, hold their head high. They may be graceful. They may be able to look at you on the side and you think, wow, what a look. What a look. They may be one who have exterior beauty. Do you know someone that has that exterior beauty? It's just there. It's a part of who they are. That mother, that one that maybe never sits down enough, never takes care of herself. But guess what? She's there for you. She's there for you. And I believe the idea that even if you never had children, but you know that you had a mother, and you can understand what she went through because you were raised by her. You were raised by her or someone else. You raised by them. So, and it also talks about the contours. Think about the contours of a woman's face that's raised children. My mother raised 10. And sometimes I would look at her and just think she was so beautiful. And I used to love to sit up close to her on the couch. And because I was the baby, she let me do it. I just always liked rubbing my mother's arm. It was soft. It was the softest skin ever. And she'd always say, "Stop, Sandra." I would continue. Just like it was, just the most softest cotton ever. I just did it. I did it. I guess it was that tactile, that needing to touch kind of thing. That's the way it was. But that was my way of being close to my mother. It also talks about the lines. Think about the lines in people's faces who are mothers, who've raised children, who have raised themselves and along with raising their children. Many mothers are young mothers, and they are raising their children with themselves being also young and being raised. Because sometimes our experiences raise us. Let's face it. No one comes with instructions when we come here. So whatever we get, we get. Whatever we learn how to do, we learn how to do. So we understand the lines. And I would always look at my mother and think, wow, she's flawless. She had no lines. She wasn't like a person who had a lot of lines from aging, and to think that she outlived 6 of her children. 6, and I can imagine, the order is off if your children go before you. I just can't imagine that. I can't imagine me, leaving, leading a world or leading in a world or trying to continue to be in the world and my child is gone. But we bear what we bear as mothers. We bear what we bear as aunties and, nieces or whatever. We watch the world spin through our own experiences, and we're a part of the spin sometimes. It also says we look at the outline and the silhouette. Spam. We look at all of those kinds of things that pretty much say that we have been, we've really been, troubled by some of the things that happened to us, and we also have to decide if we're going to remain a part of it or we're going to get ahead of it. And we never know. We never know. It's our experience that we go through. So it also talks about we will see one's profile when you look at yourself as a mother or others as mothers. Look at their profile. Look at how they might be standing, how they're sitting, how they're handling things. That's a part of their, their way forward. They know what to do in the time of trouble or the time of excitement or time of play or time of, got to prepare something. There's a plan. It also looks at their pattern. When we look at our patterns as mothers, or we look at the pattern of others as mothers, we watch them. And some of them are very clever, how to get things done in the course of a busy morning and still be on time for work, or still be able to say that all these things were done within the home and outside the home in the course of a day. They do that. We did that. And then it also talks about the molding. How are mothers molded? A lot of times they're molded by their children. They're molded because they are going to be the ones that are out in front. They're out in front. They're there. They're looking at, how can I make this work for my child? How can I look out for them? Him, her, they. Am I going to do this in such a way that it makes it work? And guess what? I don't care how old we are. We will continue. We will continue until we leave this earth, watching out for our children and other people's children. It's innate. I feel it's innate. Some people, not so much. They're not interested. And that's okay. It's okay. So when I break the word down, I start with F, and the F for me is formation. How are we fomented? How are we formatted? You know, there's something that happens to us. It's the action of forming or process of being formed. What do we go through? And I believe that as mothers, we have a tendency to bond with our children. And sometimes, even when the children are wrong, we continue to be bonded. We may not even hear the fact that, Johnny's having trouble in school, or Susie is really kind of down. How do we don't see it? We don't always see it because we're bonded. I've given them everything, but sometimes what we give away may not be received well. It just isn't. We can't determine how well people accept, how our children accept who we are, because we may be given all we have and it still may not be enough as mothers. So the formation sometimes just happens. It's just coming into being. It may be just going through stuff, and all of a sudden we understand how we maybe needs to change a position, change a way forward, understand it. It says we may be the genesis. That means the start of it, looking at what makes us this person that becomes, what I would say right-minded for our children, right-minded. It may be a formation in the context of development, meaning, I need a little more time at this. I'm a new mother, or I'm an old mother. I already know that he didn't do what he's supposed to do, because I think after a while, a mother has a sixth sense. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You just understand it. I can give you countless times from my daughter, and I was saying she didn't do what I asked her to do. And I even though she said, well, yeah, because she paused on the yeah and the yeah, I said, I go check it. She did a little bit, but she didn't finish. So sometimes you're formed by understanding that your kids do what they say they're going to do, by not really doing them, but they just kind of fool you unless you're wise enough to say, I got to go check. So also with formation, there's a generation, and your children are a generation under you. So you understand that generation is looking at you like, well, okay, she older, I'm younger, I'm never going to be that old. You know how kids do. I always thought anybody over 30 was old as, dirt when I was really young. Then I hit 30, then I hit 40, then I hit 50. Okay, come on now. Y'all know what I'm talking about. After a while, you say, look, get behind me, age. Don't deal with me like that. Let me live my life well. What you say? So anyway, formation has to do with understanding your generation and the generation that you're even having as a child, or any other generation, because now some families have multi-generations. Okay. At one time, we had, I think, 5 generations in our family living. It was Grandma Arizona, and it was Lily, and then it was Maddie, and it was Lynn, and it was Timothy, and 6. We had 6. With Timothy's son was 6 generations. We had it. So we know. So in 6 generations, and the oldest one is in her 90s, and the youngest one is a baby. You got a lot of information between those two ends. A great deal. So formation says that we might see things, and that helps us form as mothers, or we might experience things and that helps us form. Okay. It also talks about, with a formation, it's an establishment, meaning how you look at going forward, how you look at life after you've experienced something. That's all of us, every one of us. If we've experienced death, if we've experienced financial trouble, if we've experienced divorce, miscarriage, you name it, we've experienced it. Our lives change after that because the experience is what we take with us going forward. That's it. That's how life will change us. It also talks about institutional stuff, how through life we experience things that become our institution. We just realize that things changed. Don't know why, but they just did. It says we become the founding strike, where all of a sudden we find things that we didn't know existed. We experience new things. It becomes our building onto who we are. Because I believe, once again, because we come with no instructions as babies, and someone has us as their mother, the life experience between the birth and the growth to adulthood, it's lengthy, but it's also fast. you know I just remember my child was a baby, and then my child was grown, and I'm thinking, wow, that happened awfully fast. And then it's when we talk about formation, it's an absolute installation. Well, we've been installed and coming into ourselves, coming into becoming grown, grown up, and all of a sudden we become the parent that we watched, raise us. And it almost seems foreign, I ain't gonna lie. And I was overseas when I had my daughter, so I had no other influence other than what I watched my mother do, you know. And by the time I came along, all of the things that would have applied to me were done because I was the baby. So, I didn't really see it all. Then when I move on in the word, my O is for orientation. And do you all have any words for these? Did anybody have anything for their F? How about for the O? We can do them both. You can put them both in there. For the O, I have orientation. I feel as a mother, and our form is orientated towards how we either were raised or how we, mimic something off of TV or other parents or other, people from our churches, our communities, maybe clubs that we're in. We can see some stuff and we can make some decisions based on that. So the orientation is the determination of a relative position of something or someone, or the relative physical position of direction of something, meaning we watched it and we said, well, maybe I need to do it that way. Okay. Or maybe that way didn't work, so I need to do it another way. But anyway, the orientation may be how we are positioned into becoming, this mother, or how we perceive the mother that raised us, or the mother figures that raised us. How do we perceive them? What was their orientation towards us? And how do we feel about that if we ever became a mother, or we had a relationship or a marriage that formed this whole concept of family? And then what came out of that? Because even though I'm on mothers, this week I'm going to do fathers, so don't get me wrong. Fathers will be dealt with too, because it's an equal partnership if it's able to be carried out, and the structure of the family is able to stay together, or the relationship, because not everybody marries. But the orientation, optimistic is good. Thank you, Rhonda. This is the positioning, the location, the situation. And let's face it, sometimes mother goes through tough times. I've had friends who said they didn't eat to just make sure that their children ate. They just didn't have any money. Okay. Or they walked their children to school. My mother walked us to school every day. And then she came and walked to pick us up. My mother was never a lazy woman. The house was always clean. The food was always cooked and done by the time we got home, between 3:30 and 4. In fact, we ate like old people because we were done with dinner by probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Then we went out to play, came in to do our homework, bathed. That was it. We were done. We were done. That's how Lily went. But once again, her orientation was the situation she had. My dad worked a lot. She wanted to make sure she had control over all of us that were there with her. So the orientation is also the bearings that one deals with. You know, what are the things that they might be, dealing with? What else is going on in the midst of motherhood? What else is happening? It might be their placement. you know I used to have a few counselees who were in a house where the mother was there with them, the mother of either them or their spouse, but the mother's role was dominant. And so or actually let me put it this way, the mother of the mother, her role was more dominant than the mother's role over her kids. So therefore, the husband and the children listened more to their grandmother or mother-in-law than they listened to the wife, aka mother. See, sometimes you never know that changing the family structure, which sometimes has to be changed. Don't get me wrong. Our grandmother lived with us all of my young life. And actually, she didn't leave until after I finished undergraduate school. She went to stay with my mother's brother. But she stayed with us all of my life. I never knew our home without grandmother, but we called her grandmother and we called my mother mother, where the older children called their mother, which was also my mother, they called her Lily, and they called grandmother mama. You never know how people are influenced by their environments that they live in. That's their situation. That's their placement. We were placed like that. And our direction was up, even though, they would occasionally have words about what needed to be done. That was the adults. But for the most part, the bottom line is that they always formed a fairly good agreement about how we were to be raised. And then it talks about, and when orientation, it's alignment. How were we aligned? In those houses, a lot of times houses that have multi generations end up having multiple problems, only because sometimes the respect is whittled down, because they listen to maybe the oldest voice in the house, or they listen to the mid voice, or sometimes even the husband father is the dominant voice. You just never know, but all of those are situational. And it says the last thing is that they are they are located in how they've established the house, how they've established the order. And so that makes it sometimes real tough real tough to live. My R for form is regulate. How do you regulate yourself, as a mother, or how have you seen other ones regulate who they are? It says, and regulate means to control or maintain the rate of speed of a machine or a process. And let's face it, there are some women that are absolutely process geniuses. They know what to do, when to do, and how to do whatever they wanted to do. Whatever they want to do, they do it. And it says that they are in control. Haven't you met them? I've met them. They're in control. Up at 6 o'clock. Get yourself together, and then breakfast at 6:30. After breakfast, brush your teeth, and then out the door. Okay, 7 o'clock, you will be on your way out the door, heading towards. We always walked to school, but it was like a 30-minute walk. So we were, up and out early. And I remember school starting so earlier back then. Because, by 3:30, quarter to 4, we were at our house. But we had long days in New York. I don't know. Rhonda, are the days still long for school in New York? Don't know. They were long. Seemed like we were there all day. Everybody had uh, a big break if they were a part of a family where the children were out most of the day. So when we got home, it was we wanted to relax and stuff. But my mother fed us first because she felt we were hungry. And as I said, then we went outside to play. And we played hard. She wanted, the kids now, they may do a little stuff with the computer on their phones, whatever. And outside isn't a big to do anymore. It was a big to do for us. So when you regulate, that means there's control. My family had control. How about y'all? Did y'all have it? No, school seems to be shorter nowadays. I bet. When do you all get out of school up there? Is it still in June? Down here, it used to be in May, and I think it's late May. It used to be earlier, but I think it's late May down here. It used to be in early May. So when we regulate, we control, we adjust. We adjust to things. We're in management. We're managing the situation that is going on in that household. We're managing it as mothers, or if you have a co-parent, then you're managing it together. And my mother used to be the kind of person that by the time my dad came home, she had enough, and my dad took over. But he was not a big disciplinarian. Like I probably could count on 2 times when I was ever spanked by my dad. My mother did all of that. It was synchronized. I felt that we were always synchronized by whatever we did. Whatever happened, it was a synchronization with it. And it says it was in tune. We knew what to do, when to do, how to do it. And when my mother said be in by before the street lights came on, guess what? We were in the house. If we seen a street light come on, we know we might get a spanking. But my mother always said, be in the house by the time the street lights come on. And then I also have refuge. And I put 2 R's for that because you don't have to, if you don't have an R, don't worry about it. But anyway, a refuge is a condition of being safer from pursuit, danger, or trouble. That was my mother. My mother was full of protection. Okay, full of it. Be in before dark. Don't go off with anybody. Don't get any cars. I mean, we had all of the rules. And they didn't even have to be, written on anything. We knew the rules. My mother had trained us. We were almost drilled into understanding what our role was. Don't do that. We knew what don't do that meant. And we had fear. We had fear enough of our mother that was actually a good fear because we didn't want her wrath, but we understood what she meant. She was just saying, I'm trying to protect you just in case other people will take advantage of you, and I don't want that. But it also says that refuge is a sanctuary. I always felt when I went home, I felt safe. And I don't know if any of you remember or we honest to tell it, but I know at night when we lived in New York, which was the coldest daggone place on earth. It was like short of the North Pole. My mother would wrap us in this bed, linen, where the sheets were always, I don't know if my mother ironed them or not. I almost think that she did, but the sheets were always like a starchy kind of finish. And they were, tightly on the bed. And that's before they did the sheets up with the pockets and all of that they have now. But the sheets were tight on the bed. And then she would make us get in bed. And then she would take these comforters, not one, but 2, and maybe a blanket up in there too. And she would take it and she would push it under that mattress. And we would be so tightly in there. Okay. And everybody knows I'm a cold person, period. But I just couldn't believe it. But if you had to get out of bed, you basically had to call someone. because basically we were locked inside. This is the truth. We were locked inside the base and inside the bed. And my mother said, What y'all want? I said, Ma, I have to go. She said, Sandra. My mother never called me anything but Sandra. Well, basically she had to take those covers off, but they were so tightly in there, we couldn't get them out. We could not. But anyway, it says refuge is a place of safety. I felt safe. I felt warmth. I felt love. I felt, my house was safe. It says that I didn't feel it was a retreat, but sometimes I felt that I could go home and hide. And one of the places that I would hide in my home, and my mother always knew where to find me, was in the closet. I was a closet reader. I would have a flashlight, heavy flashlight, nothing like they are now. I have this heavy flashlight in the closet reading a book. And my mother says, that's why you can't see now. But she didn't know until probably maybe 4 or 5 years later that what I had was a congenital eye ailment, in that I would never see out of that eye. I just used to cheat. But my refuge is that when I got upset with everybody else in the house and the world, my mother left me alone because she knew it. She knew I was different. I'd go sit in the closet at the bottom, and the clothes were up high enough where it didn't bother me, and I just have a flashlight reading. But it was my refuge. It was my refuge, my retreat, my hideout. And she said, I know where Sandra is. Don't worry about it. She's fine. She's fine. And last that I have is the M for my word. And my word is master. I believe that by the end of our lives, if we are mothers and if we are fathers, we've mastered whatever we can do for our children, because we've done all we can do for our children. We've shown them the way. We've done what we needed to do to make it work for ourselves. And of course, if we're successful, they can be successful if they so choose to be. We can do what we can do. But it says master is having or showing very great skill or proficiency, acquiring complete knowledge or skill in an accomplishment, a technique, or an art. I believe that we as mothers, just as I will say later on, as those that are fathers, eventually, if you're in what I call the straight and narrow of your motherhood, fatherhood title, then you're doing as best you can for what it is that you need to do for your children, And it says that we will learn through our experiences. We will learn thoroughly. We will become proficient in what we need to know, such as people who end up with children that have special needs. They didn't know what all that entailed, but they learn how to do it. Those of us who have children who are gifted, I don't. I think she's extremely smart, and she may have been gifted, but not everyone that's gifted works to the level of their gifts. Plain and simple. But anyway, those parents have to pay attention to make sure that they get their children into the areas of education that will not only explore more opportunities, but put them in a position where they can be elevated into anything futuristically that serves them well in their educational pursuit. Also, it talks about when they master something, they're going to know it inside and outside. When we've lived with our children for years and years and years, we know them. Our mothers knew us, or the auntie, or the foster home, or whoever it was. They knew us eventually. Eventually, they got to know us. It says they become an expert in what they do for themselves, but mostly for the children. It says how they acquire their skills through their experiences. What they pick up along the way, they master. What they grasp in terms of going from nothing to many things, that's the process. That's the learning. And it says they end up glued, end up being glued to the fullest, meaning you can't fool them after a while. They have it. They have it. And lastly says it's how they are able to just give through their heart because they've mastered what they needed to know to raise their children. Do you know a masterful place of refuge run by a wonderful person that can regulate your life and theirs, who was able to look at the orientation of their position in life and then form it totally for you? Totally. Well, anyway, that's my session today. Form. Are you stuck? Maybe not. Maybe not. I say I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful couple of days. I'll be back on Wednesday with another vlog. I'm hoping that you enjoyed this session. I'm hoping that everything is well. Hope you are enjoying your new car. I am enjoying my new car. Yes, I am. I went and got the windows tinted on Thursday. So I am really, I don't even know what to do. The fact that I'm able to drive again, it's like, wow. I can get up, but because I have to go to the market or I need to go to church or I don't have to call anybody anymore. So I am truly blessed. Thank you, Marion, for asking. Listen, I'm going to give you a big well wish on Friday for Happy Mother's Day. But if you don't make it on Friday or on Wednesday, happy, happy, happy Mother's Day to you. And if you still have mothers, do something special for them or an auntie or somebody that's just loving and caring. And they don't even have to be a mother. Just do something special. I love you. I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much. Have a great, 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 great day. Bye-bye.